The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast platform, its affiliates, or even the hosts. The information provided is for general informational purposes only and should not be taken as legal, financial, or professional advice. The host and guests are not liable for any errors of omission in the content, nor for any losses, injuries, or damages arising from the use of the information provided. Listeners are encouraged to seek professional advice relevant to their specific circumstances. Now,
Hello, welcome to Tea and Herbalism with Lady D, and I'm Lady D. Thank you for joining me again. Today we will be talking about sage. The Latin name is Salvia officinalis, and it's also known as common sage, and it is in the mint family. So this is my jar of sage. A friend of mine, this was grown in his garden, so you have to be careful where you source sage from because it is on the endangered herbal list. And you can go to Plant Savers or United Plant Savers. We'll post it if you want to take a look at that list. So sage is commonly known for being used in cooking. So like a lot of people like to use it for Thanksgiving, for their turkeys and dressing. It's that same herb. And this is just the leaf with the stem. I'll just go ahead and break that off. So today we will be making a tea with sage. I'm actually going to add chamomile with it, just a little bit, because sage has a pungent and bitter taste, and chamomile has a sweet taste. So we're going to mix that bitter and sweet taste together. So right now, I'm going to use my Tesla lighter to light the tea light to keep the tea warm while it's infusing. So, actually, I already burnt myself once, so let me move that. So I'm going to use my tea bloom teaspoon to get out about a teaspoon of chamomile. And today we're going to use my favorite tea bloom teapot, and it has the glass insert. So this is where I'm actually putting the herb inside the glass insert. And I just go ahead and put my lid back on because this way if I knock it over, it's still good. And then with the sage, let's see. We'll just do this little cluster. It's about two large leaves and two of the smaller. And you can see I just left them on the stem when I dried them. So I did learn with sage, there is a female plant and a male plant. And the female plant releases the seeds. So if you are sourcing your own sage, make sure you're taking it from the proper plant and that you don't take all of it if you can help it. Because you want to leave some behind so that those seeds can go and continue to make more sage. And like I shared, sage is on the endangered list, so it's better if you can get it from a source that you know of that can be repopulated. So just want to be able to have you guys see when I pour the water. I've been doing a lot of moving and trying to organize things in life. So I'm just gonna add, I don't usually measure. Just gonna put about 8 ounces or so. And as y'all probably remember before, the chamomile, it does clog the strainers just because it has these little tiny pieces in the chamomile. And sometimes I have to lift the strainer up and move it about just so that it can go ahead and drain. So we'll help it out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on so we can keep that herbal goodness inside. I'm going to place it on that tea light so it can remain warm, or actually hot, while it's infusing the sage and the chamomile together. As you probably saw, it was a nice light green color. So we'll see how the color changes during the process. So sage has I think I told you it's in the mint family, and it has warming and drying energetics. So sage can be used as an antiseptic, antimicrobial. So if you want it, you could use an infusion of sage to like swish around in your mouth like mouthwash. And I would like to say that none of these statements are approved by the FDA. So it's an antimicrobial, anti-mutagenic, and antibacterial. And it helps stop neuropathic pain. So you know how people have that neuropathy with the pins and needles feeling in their hands and feet. So it helps with stopping or assisting with easing neuropathic pain. It improves memory, and it lowers blood glucose levels, so blood sugar levels. And it helps alleviate some menopause symptoms. So I have a few definitions here. So anti-mutagenic is an agent that reduces the rate of DNA mutations by counteracting the effects of mutagens. So you take that as you will, but that's the definition of anti-mutagenic. And as far as digestion goes, it helps digest rich and fatty meats. So again, like that Thanksgiving turkey, or if you like duck, something like that, that's rich and fatty. It will help to counteract that, help you with the digestion of those meals. Like I said, a lot of people already put it in their Thanksgiving meal or Christmas meal, as far as the meat and or the dressing or whatever your family cooks for that meal with sage. So it also helps move the fats throughout the digestive system and helps prevent indigestion. So I want to say I also have, I usually have essential oil. So I have the sage essential oil, and it is also the same strain, Salvia officinalis. You can use whatever brand of essential oils you like. What I have done with this is, like those little travel bottles, those little spray bottles that you can travel with. I put, I fill it with water, and I'll use so many drops of sage. I can spray it around my room or, on the bed or whatever, just to help um, have that sage smell. And it cleanses things on a spiritual level. It can cleanse. And I would like to show real quick here, like I showed a leaf earlier. You can, a lot of people use sage spiritually to cleanse their air. So I'm going to show you when I like this. And then you can have that sage. A lot of people like to have a window open, and that way you see that sage is burning. So a lot of people have it as bundles, but if you have just the sage leaf, you definitely can light just that leaf. And I have a container here that can safely, it's cast iron, so it can safely burn that sage. So you can see, I don't know if you can see the smoke on the sage. And it smells wonderful. Again, it's the same sage that you would use in a tea or in your meal for the holiday or even everyday food. Because a lot of people are using herbs. We use herbs every day. for our food. I just want to make sure I turn my Tesla lighter off. And I think I showed this before. The good thing is I can just plug it in with a USB. It recharges and keeps going. And I can just light whatever I need to with it. Okay, so so sage also helps balance hormones and promotes normal menstruation. And it treats menopausal symptoms, so like hot flashes, um, maybe even hair loss. And it also sage treats has been used to treat, I'll say that, premature ejaculation in men. So if you have someone that ejaculates prematurely, you can see if they're willing to maybe have an infusion of sage, meaning a cup of tea, sage tea, beforehand and see how that improves the situation. Again, not a doctor, and the statements are not approved by the FDA. So I did mention you can use sage to gargle, like when you brush your teeth. But if you have a sore throat, you can also use sage to gargle because it is antiseptic and antimicrobial, and it speeds up a healing in the wound. So you can make a sage compress or a sage infusion. So the tea, let me show you. The tea is an infusion because we're infusing the herb with the water. And then to make a compress, you would take that on like a washcloth, paper towel, but a washcloth would probably be better. And you just dip it in the tea, the infusion, and place it on whatever area that has the wound, and then it can help heal that wound faster. It also relieves pain and fights infections, and it brings more blood to the area to speed up healing. So, and then the sage essential oil has been known and used to improve blood circulation to the scalp and the roots of the hair to promote hair growth. So, another thing is you can mix sage or pair the sage with rosemary for the essential oil, mostly the essential oil, but you can probably use the rosemary and sage infusion, and it can help treat um, receding hair and promotes thicker hair growth. Those two together, rosemary and sage. So I have a warning here. So if you're a nursing mother, you should avoid sage because it can reduce breast milk production. So try not to ingest sage or have sage tea if you're a nursing mother. I'm going to move this just a little bit because I'm getting a lot of sage in my face. But it's still going. And it smells wonderful. It's just a little too much right now in my face. Okay. So the properties of the plants, I went over how it can be used medicinally, but it's aromatic. Again, it can be used spiritually to clean. It smells great. It's an astringent, carminative, diaphoretic, which means it pulls the fluid off and allows you to, urinate. As antiseptic means it cleans, and blood moving, which I mentioned earlier, to help speed up healing, and also probably the action that helps the hair to regrow. So it's also used for Alzheimer's. So I mentioned memory. So Alzheimer's, hot flashes. If you have a toothache, so I learned that recently. If you have a toothache or sore muscles and high cholesterol, sage has been known to help with those um, issues. So the plant preparations, the infusion, which we're doing now, the tea, a tincture, which is made, I've shared before, with alcohol, usually vodka, sometimes brandy. But if you have an issue with alcohol and you can't have it, there's a way to make a glycerin. I think it's called a glycerite. You use glycerin with the herb, and you can go online and look that up how to do that if you want to make a tincture, glycerite, without alcohol. And again, if you have rosemary and sage, you can make your own hair growth tonic. So let's check out the tea. You can actually, I want to say, you can burn the stems too. I just didn't do that today. And another way I just want to share real quick. If you did not want to just burn the leaf, if you had a charcoal or you had, let's say you didn't have the full leaf, you had pieces of sage, you could light a charcoal, and then when it gets hot enough, you can place that sage on the charcoal and have the same effect. Lunar Love by Denise, where everything is handmade in small batches. You can reach me at my Etsy website or at my email address and place your order. I'm also known as Lady D. Thank you. So it's still a nice light green color. Today, I'm using this teacup and saucer by Mikasa, and it's the Camelot pattern. So it's Mikasa Camelot. Let me turn this other camera on so you can see. Isn't that beautiful? It has flowers all around. And this is the cup. It is bone china. It's quite delicate. Oh, no, this one, hold on. You can hold bone china. So it's not bone china. It's just fine china. When you hold bone china up to the light shines right through because it's thin. So I'm going to use some rose honey today. So sage with chamomile and rose honey. So I added more honey to the jar today. It looks like it didn't infuse like it normally does. Oh, that's wonderful. The honey at the bottom is trying to solidify. I keep it in a cool, dark place. So that's probably, look at how thick that is. How thick that honey is now. I didn't use it while we were on break. So it had a chance. It's nice and cool. And it's thick. Like I said, I keep it in a cool, dark cabinet. So today, I think we're going to move it into this teapot here. I got this at a thrift shop. Actually, I got both of these at a thrift shop. Two different ones, not the same thrift shop. But this is by Bombay. And I like this blue, like onesie pattern. Actually, I was able to get about 3 teapots that day. And they all have the same basic pattern. But it's so nice. It has a nice heavy feel to it. And then this came from a different thrift shop. I just fell in love with this print. These flowers. So nice. So let's do what we're going to do here. Just trying to arrange it to where you all get the focus of what I'm actually trying to do here. Don't need that anymore. I'm just going to pour it. Oh, I forgot to show you all. It's still this nice light green color. Almost an amber, but it's still light green. So I want to take a quick look. It looked mostly like sage stayed on top. Should have looked at that a little sooner, but all is well. So I may not get as much sage taste. Looks like it's mostly chamomile, but you live and you learn. Now, I love the sound of that tea pouring. I'm just trying to get the honey to dissolve. And you know there are rose petals floating in here for my rose honey. It smells amazing. I can smell the rose from here. And the chamomile. I think I have a little bit of sage too. So let's turn that one off. Let's give it a taste. Let's see what we think here. Now I wore this light green top to go with the sage, the light green sage. It tastes good. I would have liked to get more of the sage, because I do taste more of the chamomile and rose. So next time I'll just have to make sure the leaf goes down and it's covered with the water. But it's good. It's nice and soothing, relaxing. So I think I'll share some with a friend. Again, thank you for watching today on sage. Hopefully you learned a lot about sage. You want to know about another herb? Let me know. Just put it in the comments below. Or you can DM me on Instagram at LadyD4440. If you want to donate to the show, the Cash App is, I believe, $ United Front. We'll list it, because I may be saying that wrong. And then if you want to donate to myself, the host, his Cash App is $ Naturalista D. I have to think about it. You can also email me at lunarlovebydenise@gmail.com, and we'll post all of the contact information if you want to have access to that. And you can visit my Etsy shop, but you can also visit my eBay shop. So you can buy, let's see, not this tea set you saw today. I like this one here. It's from 1886. Look at that. The year 1886. So, yeah, that's there. Along with a few other beautiful teacups and saucers. Thank you.